Dub Nation, audience, viewers, listeners, I'm sick to my stomach. If you're watching the live version of this show, I literally cannot get myself going. I apologize for those of you waiting. If you're watching or listening to the recorded version, yeah, I'm sick. I'm as sick as you are. That was disgusting in a metaphorical sense relating to sports. And you've been hearing me say it time and time and again. There is poor leadership running this organization. And I don't think any game exemplified that more than tonight. We've heard the phrase gut punch a lot. Yeah, it's a good way to describe how I think Dub Nation's feeling. This was wrong. It was revolting. And I'm going to defer to the chat a little bit tonight. I want to hear Misery Loves Company. I want to hear from you as well. Let's break down what went wrong, because there was a lot of that. And it all starts with the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, who needs to go, in my humble opinion. This is Locked On Warriors.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for making Locked On Warriors your first listen every day. We're free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn, and more specifically, LinkedIn Jobs, which can help you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. I'm Cyrus Saatsaz, your host for the evening. You can follow me on Threads at DogWild. I apologize for those who still want my content on the other platform, but the man's literally a racist. I just don't have it in me to help him. So Threads it is. And this game tonight was utterly disgusting. Let's start first and foremost with the head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, because I'm really thankful he was asked what a lot of people were thinking. Where the hell was Jonathan Kuminga? Tonight was the first time all season where I missed any part of a game visually. The Sanderfeld Bridge, for you Barrie locals, had some issue. They had to do some repair work. The bridge was shut down for a small while. One lane was open. Anyway, so it took me forever to get home. I listened to the first half instead of watching, and all I could hear was great things. I was constantly looking at my phone safely to see stats. Everything looked fine. I watched the second half. I saw this team have an 18-point lead. And then in the fourth quarter, I kept thinking, where is Kuminga? I like double-checked. I triple-checked the stats. They look good. All I kept thinking was, where is Kuminga? Never mind the questions I have about the starting lineup. Last I checked, Steve Kerr said he's going to stick with that for a while. And then before this game, Trace Jackson-Davis is pulled for Kevon Looney, a player who, to the best of my recollection, has never literally never defended Nikola Jokic successfully. Case in point, the 2022 NBA playoffs, the first round more specifically, when the Warriors and the Nuggets played each other, Kevon Looney was out of the rotation entirely by the end of that series because he was worthless. So what does Steve Kerr do tonight? He starts Kevon Looney. And we didn't see Jonathan Kuminga for the final 18 minutes of this game. Before we listen to Steve Kerr real fast, how did Kuminga do tonight? What were his numbers for the game? In the 18 minutes, 57 seconds he played, he was 5 for 7 from the field, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 turnover. He ended up leading the team in net rating with a +6, 16 points. He also, unlike most of the other players on this team, can get to the free throw line. He had 7 free throw attempts. Yet we didn't see him for the final 18 minutes of this game. So let's hear from Steve Kerr, a man I'm tired of. And unfortunately, we have to keep putting up with his crap. And here he is talking about why Jonathan Kuminga did not play the final 18 minutes of a game that the Warriors blew thanks to a Nikola Jokic 40-footer as time expired.
Kuminga, it looked like he was giving you a good scoring boost in the first half. What went into the decision not to have him play in the?
Yeah, he was playing great, and his normal time to go back in would have been around the 5-6 minute mark. And Wiggs was playing great, and we were rolling. We're up 18, 19, whatever it was, and so we just stayed with him. And then at that point, it didn't feel like it was the right thing to do. He'd been sitting for a while, so I stayed with the group that was out there, and obviously, we couldn't close it out.
Oh my God. I've been muted for a while and I just got a text message because of that. All right. That is a massive flaw here. And that's part of the reason why me doing this live can be an issue sometimes. Kylan Mills texted me that. Thank you. I'm going to start over again one more time. My God. So that means I was muted for, I'm sorry, folks. This is what a Warriors game does. Let's go through this sound one more time. Kylan, thank you for the heads up on that. Let's go through the sound bite one more time. I just wasted like how many minutes of myself breaking this down? Jesus.
Kuminga, it looked like he was giving you a good scoring boost in the first half. What went into the decision not to have him play in the?
Yeah, he was playing great, and his normal time to go back in would have been around the 5-6 minute mark.
All right, I got to repeat everything I've been saying while I was muted. Damn it. Here was the first problem with that. Kylan, thank you again. This is a huge issue with Steve Kerr. And by the way, for the recorded version, I'm going to edit that whole muted part out. So I apologize for the live audience for dealing with that. This has been a fundamental issue with Steve Kerr when it comes to his rotations, when it comes to his substitution patterns. There's no question that professional athletes are creatures of routine. They love it. All right. Professional athletes, especially more so than any other level of athlete. They like structure. They don't like surprises. They love knowing what to expect. So to a certain extent, these routines, these structured minutes, they're okay to a certain extent, but they can also come bite you in the total ass. And this is why oftentimes fans will get frustrated if, let's say, Stephen Curry is on a heater and all of a sudden you see him get pulled out. Klay Thompson tonight in the second quarter was raging. I was listening to the game. This was the first time all season where I did not watch this game beginning to end visually. I missed the first half because here in the Bay Area, one of our major bridges, the Sanderfeld Bridge, had some sort of issue. I still don't know what happened, but so I'm stuck in traffic forever. I have to get directed and rerouted and took this 1.5 hour detour to get home. So I'm listening to the first half of this game and listening to Tim Roy, the legend, one of the greatest to ever do it. If you've never listened to a Warriors game on the radio, he's the voice of the Golden State Warriors, Tim Roy. So I'm listening to his call, and I'm hearing the crowd going crazy over Klay Thompson, having this Richter of a second quarter, like earth-shaking performance, right? And Klay Thompson in the second quarter, just to give you perspective on just how good he was playing. And I don't know what happened here. Like, Tim Roy never explained it. I was guessing maybe he was injured. I'm going on social media to see if there's any news. Nothing. Klay Thompson in the second quarter was 3 of 5 from deep, had 9 points, but he got yanked. I still don't know what the reason was. I don't know if it was because of Steve Kerr's rigid structure of substitutions where at a specific moment you have to take someone out. You've seen Stephen Curry get pulled for these reasons. You've seen Jonathan Kuminga get pulled for these very reasons. It makes no damn sense. There's nothing organic. There's nothing spontaneous about his substitutions. And then when he does implement some sort of spontaneity, it backfires because his judgment is poor. So that part of it right there, I had to call out. And I do sincerely apologize again for the 5 minutes of the program being muted. Let's continue on.
And Wiggs was playing great, and we were rolling. We're up.
Was Wiggins playing great? Are we sure about that? I'm not saying he was playing bad, but and never mind the fact that I see no good reason for Wiggins and Kuminga to not play together. Makes no damn sense. That is an imaginary rule that is in Steve Kerr's head. I can't play Kuminga and Wiggins together. Why? These are two athletically freakish individuals who together can cause pure havoc. Now, look, I know there's a stat out there that says that the net rating of these two combined is not good. I think it's like minus 19.9 entering tonight. But the net rating of any duo with Andrew Wiggins sucks. Okay, it might be the worst with Jonathan Kuminga, but it's bad across the board. All right. I don't think there's any player on this roster that has a positive net rating with Andrew Wiggins. And in terms of Andrew Wiggins playing great tonight, and yeah, I know he was defensively, I thought he was playing good basketball. But again, this whole imaginary rule that Steve Kerr has where he cannot play these two together, and you're going to hear him mention that in just a minute. But Andrew Wiggins tonight, 5 of 10 from the field, good. Not as good as 5 of 7 from the field, which is what Jonathan Kuminga had. Andrew Wiggins plays 27 minutes, 16 seconds in this game, over 8 minutes more than Kuminga. He's only 1 for 4 from deep. For someone who had developed a prowess when it comes to rebounding, only grabbed 3 tonight, finished the game with 11 points, which for a 27-minute outing, not good, especially for a team that's constantly searching for scoring help for Steph and Curry. And Andrew Wiggins was also the team leader in negative net rating with minus 14. Let's continue on.
18, 19, whatever it was. And so we just stayed with him. And then at that point, it didn't feel, like it was the right thing to do.
And this is the ultimate problem. This is, and again, the evidence is piling up that what Steve Kerr feels is the problem. Whether it's his intuition, whether he just sees the game in terms of his favorites, he loves surrounding himself with people he likes, not necessarily who is the best. Jerry West, a former consultant with the Golden State Warriors, currently in a similar role with the LA Clippers, legendary GM of the LA Lakers. Some credit him for drafting Klay Thompson and Draymond Green. His philosophy is, I want the best players, period. Steve Kerr's philosophy apparently is, I want people that I like. And then I'll worry about whether or not they're good as a secondary thing. You heard the Boogie's cousin sound from yesterday's show where he blamed Kerr for Team USA. I totally agree with that. Austin Reeves was his guy. He's the focus of Team USA, not Anthony Edwards, not Paolo Banchero, and certainly not the bigs. And if I remember correctly, Lithuania, a much bigger team, pounded them. I don't like what Steve Kerr feels anymore. My trust is gone with Steve Kerr when it comes to his feelings.
Been sitting for a while, so I stayed with the group that was out there, and obviously, we couldn't close it out.
Obviously, and I do apologize again for the muting. I'm genuinely embarrassed about that. I want to resort to the chat in just a minute. And again, I don't know what was muted. I try to hopefully cover everything that I said the first time. That's embarrassing. We'll have a lot more to discuss. We got some sponsors for tonight's show, though. Nikola Jokic, again, a 40-footer with time expiring to complete a comeback for the Denver Nuggets, who are down 18 points in this game. And I honestly don't know anymore if this is still a title contending team. What I do know is that if this is going to work, Kuminga has to play. He is arguably the second best player on this team. And for Kerr to not feel like he should play, that's just a joke. That is a joke. What isn't a joke, though, is the job market. And look, your livelihood is important in this world, right? I think it goes without saying. So when it comes to your livelihood, when it comes to finding work, one of the best places to do that is LinkedIn. At the start of the new year, every small business owner is asking themselves the same question. What's the one move I can make that'll take my business to the next level in 2024? LinkedIn Jobs knows that your success all depends on the team you surround yourself with. That's why LinkedIn Jobs has created the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. It's not just another job board. They got a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. This is good. By the way, you know what? I don't mean to interrupt an ad read, but I just heard from one of my inside sources with the Warriors. I'll tell you what he said in just a minute. That was a nice little tease within an advertisement. So anyways, LinkedIn, what I always tell my students is this, because besides hosting the show, I'm also a professor. LinkedIn is the place to go to find work. Recruiters are there. The network is there. If you're looking for the best opportunity on the planet when it comes to your professional endeavors and achieving professional success, it's all about LinkedIn. And if you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, that is where you go to find the talent. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. That's linkedin.com/lockedonnba to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Today's episode is also brought to you by BetterHelp. Matt On, if there is a game where you want to seek professional help, tonight was it. And all kidding aside, look, tonight's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Give online therapy a try at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba and get on your way to being your best self. And this world can be hard. We all have just crap to deal with. Some of us care so much about the Warriors. A game like this makes you angry, might make you anxious, might make you depressed. Obviously, a lot of real world situations will do that to you. There is nothing wrong with seeking help for anything related to mental illness. There's nothing wrong with it. I'm an advocate for it personally. And when it comes to an opportunity like BetterHelp, where you don't have to deal with the money for gas, you don't have to deal with the time you have to spend to go seek out a therapist at an office, BetterHelp offers virtual help. And if you don't like your first therapist, if you don't like your second therapist, you can change it up. All right. That's one of the things in this whole process with mental health is finding the right therapist. That's one of the most important parts. And there's a good chance you're not going to find that the first time around. BetterHelp will hold your hand in that process. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedonnba today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedonnba.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, Locked On has a national 24/7 show now. They launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube and subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. I want to go to the chat because I don't know if stats are going to really answer anything. I mean, one more time just to cover this again. Steph and Curry, that costly turnover at the end. A lot of people are going to focus on that, and maybe rightfully so. This was a tie game. You only needed a 2. And for some reason lately, the Warriors have been putting themselves in these situations where instead of going for the easy bucket, they're going for, I don't know if razzle dazzle's the right way to articulate this. I don't know if they're just, but you don't need a 3. All you need is the easiest basket imaginable. And Steph at the worst possible time, marred, I thought, was a fantastic game. He had another 30-point night. His 15th game of the season, scoring 30 or more points. He was 11 of 23 from the field, just shy of 50% for a point guard. That's a good number. 5 of 12 from deep. That's a great number. That's just shy of 50% from deep. Had 6 assists and only had 2 turnovers, but that one at the end was very costly. Klay Thompson, I thought, also had a good game. 24 points for him. He was 9 of 18 from the field. Still don't understand why he got pulled in that second quarter right when he was on a heater. 4 of 10 from deep. 1 trip to the free throw line. The Splash Brothers were doing fine. I'm gonna go to my grave saying that the fault tonight lied in a few things. One is Steve Kerr I don't know if he just doesn't like his 2 lottery picks. I haven't figured out what the reasoning is. And Warriors media, unfortunately, the folks who cover this team, just there outside of maybe Anthony Slater, he's earned so much goodwill, I guess, with the local media that no one wants to challenge him. No one wants to ask, hard questions. No one wants to follow up. But at a certain point, you got to get a specific reason from Steve Kerr as to what is going on with you and your 2 lottery picks. You blew it with James Wiseman. All right. But to blow it with another set of 2 more lottery picks? Like, what is it about them he doesn't like? It's just, man.
That's ignorant.
It's ignorant. It is absolutely ignorant. Go Javier, fire Kerr. Certified Mamangon says Coach Rivers for hire. I don't know if Doc is the right. I've been advocating for Brent Barry, similar path to the Warriors as Steve Kerr had, only he actually is accruing some additional experience with the Spurs. Joe writes, Kerr must have been forced Kuminga and Moody. Well, what I've heard behind the scenes is those 2 players were Lacob liked them. Joe Lacob really wanted Chris Duarte with the 14th pick. This much we do know. But here's what I by the way I heard. I got a text message from look, you can aggregate this if you want, all right? Inside source for the Golden State Warriors telling me Jonathan Kuminga is pissed. Jonathan Kuminga is literally fuming in the locker room. Could you blame him? Could you blame him? If I'm Jonathan Kuminga, 21 years old, I have all the talent in the world. All I need is a coach who's going to support me, a coach who's going to guide me. And instead, you get Steve Kerr, who prefers his favorites, who nurtures an environment of yes men and women. I don't mean to make that gender specific. The point is, it's a toxic environment. The sooner change comes, the better, in my humble opinion. Yeah, and Crazy Boo Boo Chicken, who writes, Kerr back to TNT confirmed. That would be my strong guess. I do not see Steve Kerr going back to coaching after this. Yeah, Romar Hernandez, the media are not asking hard questions. You're absolutely right. Breeze CS writes, Kuminga's the only player we have that can get buckets in the paint and get to the free throw line. Absolutely correct. In case I was muted in saying this, and again, I sincerely apologize for that. That's really bugging me that I did that. He had 7 free throw attempts tonight. Next up on the Warriors, Stephen Curry with 3. How are you ever going to get opposing players in foul trouble if you're not attacking the paint? How are you limiting transition points for the opposition if you're not routinely getting to the free throw line? How are you getting the easiest points imaginable getting to the free throw line? The only players on this roster who routinely, consistently get to the free throw line are Stephen Curry, who leads the team in free throw attempts, Jonathan Kuminga, who's second on the team in free throw attempts, and once upon a time, it was Andrew Wiggins, who tonight had 0 free throw attempts. Kuminga had 7. You're absolutely correct. One Backbone writes, Kerr said the lead was blown because they couldn't penetrate, but bring back the only player that can attack a will with Kuminga. No way. You're absolutely right. Greg Gordon, I need to correct this real fast. This is not true. Greg Gordon writes that Kerr is coaching the national team for a few more years. He's not quitting. Not true. Steve Kerr is actually calling it quits with the national team after this summer's Olympics. He said so. Let's get some love to another sponsor, and then I'm going to continue with the chat. This is going to be your show tonight. I'm going to read everything. I'll respond to it, because what good is it for me to tell you that the Warriors lost the points in the paint battle again, 60-56. They lost the battle of second chance points, 15-14. They're the worst team in the NBA in fast break points. Guess how many they scored tonight? 4. Well, I'm gonna go to the chat, because you all saw the game. If you've seen the highlights and you're coming here, you've seen what needs to be seen. You literally had the Warriors, quite possibly their second best player, just sitting there for the last 18 minutes of this game. Just makes no sense. It just makes no sense. And Moses Moody, by the way, another DNP. Like, where is the logic in that? Could someone in the chat tell me if Moses Moody, if anyone asked Steve Kerr about Moses Moody? Because obviously we're doing a live show here. I cannot check that. And Joe, I agree with you as well. That Chris Paul playing next to Steph, it's not efficient. These two need to be, back and forth. They need to be they need to be staggered. They should not be playing together. I totally agree with you. Real fast, we got a new sponsor here. Let's take a quick break and talk about our brand new sponsor, and that is Hungry Root, which is all about food. How many of you are going to be depressed eating after this? That is a thing, folks. I'll say this. Look, I'm a bachelor right now in life. Don't recommend it, but, what choice do you have? And eating is one of the challenges if you're a single male or female, or however you identify yourself in this world. It's not easy sometimes to find food. If you're trying to eat a little healthier in 2024, our new sponsor, Hungry Root, is here to rescue you from short-lived resolutions by making meal planning easy and nutritious. Helping build healthy habits for you that won't disappear by February. And to achieve that, Hungry Root has the answer. It's the easiest way to get fresh, high-quality food delivered to your door. They've got healthy groceries and simple recipes all in one place. They have this fun short quiz for you that lets Hungry Root kind of get to know you, get to know your goals, what you like to eat, what you don't like to eat, what your favorite flavors are, which appliances you use. So they send you the easiest things to cook in your house. And they'll recommend recipes. They'll send you groceries based on your tastes. It's awesome. And right now, Hungry Root is offering Locked On NBA listeners 40% off your first delivery. And you also get free veggies for life. Just go to hungryroot.com/lockedon to get 40% off your first delivery and get your free veggies. That's hungryroot.com/lockedon. Don't forget to use our link. Again, hungryroot.com/lockedon so they know we sent you.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, one final segment of Locked On Warriors. Thank you for listening. For the everydayers out there, we're back at this tomorrow night. If there is a reprieve, if there is any good news from this game, is that the Warriors are playing the Pistons tomorrow. That they have to win that, right? I hope. Let's get to the chat because I just want to make these final 10 minutes about you. Tommy McMahon writes, where is Joe Lacob on this curse situation? That is a great question. I've been wondering that myself. It would be nice if he came out and spoke publicly. Do not be surprised if a trade happens soon. All right? Don't be surprised by that. The two players most likely to be moved will be Wiggins and or Draymond Green. Steve Kerr, by the way, pushing back on the reports that Draymond is set to come back to the facility soon. Yada Mean writes, Kerr would probably advocate for Corey Joseph minutes. Oh my God. All right, let's see what's going on here in the chat. I'm trying to catch up with everyone here. Let's see what's going on. Jeff Z Cool says trade Kerr. Craig Ross writes, do you think Mo Cheeks as the coach? I've already said Brent Barry's my pick, and we're gonna have a show soon dedicated. One of our really loyal everydayers, Nick Frensky. I think you're in the chat. You suggested a name who's an assistant on the Sacramento Kings. If you're in the chat right now, please throw that idea in the chat, and I will repeat it because your idea was solid. I forgot. I don't know the individual's name off the top of my head. He's an assistant with the Sacramento Kings. I do agree, Adrian Smith, who writes, the team is good. It's just Kerr. I wholeheartedly agree with you. I have faith in Moses Moody. I think he's going to be and is a fantastic basketball player. Folks, 18, 19, 20 months ago, when this team was in the middle of a world championship season, they went into the postseason starting Moses Moody in games for a world championship team. A year and a half later, for inexplicable reasons, he's getting DNP'd night after night. Gary Payton II is injured. He was still DNP'd. Why? Oh, and there, Nick, you're here. Okay. And Nick, your suggestion is Jordy Fernandez of the Sacramento Kings. So far, so good. I did a little research on him. Not bad. Not bad at all. Would not hate it. Tanner D writes, is there a trade that I want to happen? I've said Pascal Siakam repeatedly. I don't like the idea of trading Kuminga for him. I would be bummed trading Moody for him. This is in addition to, say, Andrew Wiggins. But Pascal Siakam would be a difference maker. Obviously, the issue, this is all predicated on the premise that Steve Kerr gets out of the way. Like if they make a trade and Steve Kerr somehow stops fumbling all these important decisions. Pascal Siakam wouldn't be the worst. And then a buddy of mine I was speaking with today, one of my closest friends, suggested Jared Allen of the Cleveland Cavaliers. And the more I think about that, the more I love it. The dude can pass. He gives you defense. He could actually hold his own against a Nikola Jokic. So he would bring tremendous value tonight. So those are two players off the top of my head. Andrew S30 writes, why do you think Draymond will be traded? Myriad of reasons. The language from Steve Kerr being non-supportive of Draymond Green. Those Boogie Cousins sound bites that you heard on yesterday's show, which for some reason have not blown up yet. I'm a little surprised by that, honestly. Boogie Cousins and Draymond Green are very close friends. Very close. And it would not surprise me if a lot of Boogie Cousins' words, and I'm repeating that same close friend who suggested Jared Allen. He actually inspired this, and I wholeheartedly agree. It would not surprise me if what Boogie was saying yesterday was simply him repeating what Draymond is saying behind the scenes. I've said this on this show repeatedly. Steve Kerr puts up with Draymond Green. Steve Kerr and Draymond Green are not close. There are two players on this roster who love Steve Kerr, Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson. Stephen Curry and Klay Thompson also love Mark Jackson, though. And Rachel Nichols actually brought that up in the same clip. I don't know if it was in the clip or I don't know if we played it on the show, but if you listen to the whole 8-9 minute thing, Rachel Nichols added that on top of Boogie Cousins' words that this organization has in the past made changes at the head coaching position when things were not terrible. I mean, when Mark Jackson was fired, even though the Warriors lost in 7 games in that series against the Clippers, things were looking up. This team obviously had a phenomenal, bright future ahead of them. And Steve Kerr at that time was right for this job. Just he's not right now. He's never proven he can develop talent. He clearly has tremendously poor judgment in terms of who to play. So if the GM doesn't give him a perfect roster, he's going to do what we're seeing right now, which is play the wrong players at the wrong times. And when it comes to Draymond, I think a huge reason why he might be traded is because the Warriors just might be done with this. This last incident might have been enough. And again, you're not hearing supportive words. He hasn't been around the team. He still, in my humble opinion, has value around the league. The Lakers obviously are at the top of the list for who hypothetically would want Draymond Green, right? I can see the Dallas Mavericks wanting him. I'm sure they're salivating over the idea of Luka Doncic having Draymond Green covering his back. He still has value in terms of a trade. And so when you ask me, why do I think he's going to be traded? I'm not saying this emphatically, like I think it's going to happen. This is all conjecture. But if you're reading the tea leaves, it's possible, is what I'm trying to say. All right, let's catch up on the chat here. We'll go over for 5 more minutes. Patrick Singh writes, Lauri Markkanen. The only downside to that, if the reports are true that he's available, is reportedly it's going to cost 5 first-round draft picks. Now, a lot of teams around the NBA look at the Warriors' future first-round picks, and they see a lot of value there. And the reason why is because a lot of teams in the NBA see the Golden State Warriors 2-3 years from now as a non-playoff team. Hell, they're a non-playoff team now. But 2 to 3 years from now, teams do not look at the Warriors situation and envy it. And so they find value in those first-round picks. Those first-round picks in 2026, 7, 8, 9, those have a lot of value to them. You can make deals and get something back. So I don't know if the reports are true that 5 first-rounders is what will convince the Utah Jazz to trade Lauri Markkanen. But supposedly that's the cost. Horace McGraw writes, the scouting report for the Warriors. No matter how bad they're beating you, don't panic. They will somehow give you an opportunity to get back into the game by turnovers, bad shots, and no defense. Hybrid Nick, wholeheartedly agree with you. Play Kuminga over Podziemski down the stretch. That would have been the best decision. Uncle Chef thinks that they're not going to make any significant changes this season. I don't buy that. So far from Mike Dunleavy Jr., so very good. You have to give him his credit for these 2 draft picks. Brandon Podziemski, bravo, dude. The Golden State Warriors, they have their own algorithm for draft picks. They revamped their analytics department, and Brandon Podziemski was very high on their draft board. And in hindsight, bravo. Your algorithm worked. Your scouting worked. Got to give credit where credit's due. And Mike Dunleavy Jr., who granted, we can't really trust what he says because he said Jordan Poole wasn't going anywhere. And then like 3 days later, he's gone. But he did say that by the time Draymond Green comes back, if this team is not 500 or better, I think he actually said over 500, there's going to be some decisions to be made. They're 2 games below 500 right now. Do not be surprised if a trade happens. The Warriors right now in the standings, by the way, 16 and 18, a half game behind the Lakers for the play-in. And they're currently 4.5 games behind the Pelicans and the Kings for the 6th seed. And that is trouble. 4.5 games is a lot. Joseph Bucci writes, Steve Kerr is afraid of Draymond Green. Greg Gordon writes, Steve Kerr won't play Siakam. He's too tall. Oh, my God. Cade Jackson, I don't know if this is true. Cade writes that if Draymond Green got traded, Steph would ask out. Steph's been playing a lot of games without Draymond Green. And I think he's learning he can live without Dre. And Stephen Curry's never been a high drama dude. I wouldn't see that happening. I just would not see that happening. Twister Doug makes a good point that Stephen Curry just might need to step up, be a leader, and tell ownership it's time to move on from Kerr. He might be right. Jigsy Ochoa writes that he or she can coach better than Kerr. SKY Bound writes, hopefully Kuminga is gone. Are you writing that because he's being mistreated here? Or are you one of the holdouts who just doesn't like him? Yeah, Billy 415. Andrew Wiggins did look lost guarding Aaron Gordon. Aaron Gordon ate up the Warriors tonight. He did. Hybrid Nick 12, agree with you. Playing Kuminga over Podziemski down the stretch would have been the best decision, probably. All right, this was brutal. This was absolutely brutal. God damn it. You know, I always tell my students, if they give me an F paper, that means I'm spending like an hour plus on it, grading it, right? And it's a pain in the ass. I'm giving them all sorts of feedback. And the same goes with this program and if it's an A paper, in a minute, I know it's an A paper. There's little to grade. I give them the props. And the same goes for this show. And the Warriors are kicking ass. Man, this is fun. This is a good ride. We're all having a party. But when they're playing like this, Kate, I teach journalism. Carlo Gans writes that Chris Paul is such a liability on defense, and you'd rather trade him than Wiggins. I want to. The only argument I'm making for Chris Paul is he has been a huge help for Kuminga and for Trayce Jackson-Davis. I don't know if Podziemski's thriving under him. I don't know if Podziemski is being rewarded for Chris Paul's tutelage, but certainly in the case of Kuminga and Trayce Jackson-Davis, it's almost like they're being coached by Chris Paul more than the real coaches are. And so that's my one argument for keeping Chris Paul. Nick Fensky writes that trades will not help. The coach is the problem. Yeah, very possible. Very possible. Jay Boogie writes, all the top teams have at least 2 impact players on their roster. The Dubs only have 1. Who's the second impact player for the Nuggets? Is Jamal Murray? I mean, and it's not like the Warriors team that won the title in 2022 had this second quote unquote impact player. I mean, that guy was Andrew Wiggins. So, I mean, I know Wiggins had a great game, but Mark Medina, I'm forever curious if this is the Mark Medina who's a journalist or if you just have the same name. Writes, Steve Kerr's proving the haters right, like Chuck and Big Perk. I know. Yeah. Yeah. Right. All right. Seeing if there's anything else that's new that we haven't touched on. Yeah, and Yada mean, I don't mean to disrespect Jamal Murray in saying that, but it's just when he comes to, like, Jamal Murray's never made an all-star team, and there is a reason for that. I don't mean to disrespect him though. He is a very good player. I do agree. Yeah, I'm just seeing if there's anything else here I need to address. Super frustrated SF Giants fan talking about Larry Krueger. Krueger's been busy with the Niners. I don't think him and I are going to be doing shows together. I promise you. It's just that the Niners have really taken his attention. I know he's going to be doing Warriors shows. And like I said, him and I, he's one of my closest friends. So we'll be doing plenty of work together. I should bring him on this show soon. Actually, he might go on a nice little tangent. You know, I'll work on that. I'll see if Krueger will actually be available for tomorrow night's show. Ooh, now this is a good one. Refixing writes, should they keep Kevon Looney? This one hurts. Kevon Looney to me is one of the hardest players to be negative about because of just how good of a dude he is. But bottom line is this. And this is my opinion, but I don't think the Warriors win a title if Kevon Looney's part of this rotation. I like Trayce Jackson-Davis because he's taller, he's bigger, he's offensively, I think he brings more to the table. He's a better shot blocker. He's more athletic. And Looney, for some reason, where he's regressed, the part of his game that's regressed that's hurt the team the most is his inability to be a switch defender. Looney in the past, you could count on him to at least play adequate defense on a really quick guard. This season, that has not proven true. He's become a huge liability. Defensively, in general, he's become a huge liability. And so if you make a trade, let's say for a Pascal Siakam, for Lauri Markkanen, even for Jared Allen, whoever the player is in these hypothetical discussions, Kevon Looney, whether he's traded or not, if you're thinking the Warriors are still a championship contender, he's got to be an odd man out. He's got to be at the end of the bench if he's not traded. So if he ends up being traded, it would suck because he's a good dude. But I mean, this is a business ultimately, I mean, I grew up, and this is my philosophy. And, in terms of discussing the Warriors as a dynasty, and they're at the tail end of this thing right now, maybe it's over. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area watching a San Francisco 49ers team that laid a blueprint down for how to sustain a dynasty for 18 years. And one thing I learned from that is sentimentality cannot exist in personnel decisions. Meaning, Kevon Looney, if you keep him, you're keeping him for sentimental reasons. He's not that guy anymore. Andrew Wiggins, if you keep him, you're keeping him for sentimental reasons. He's a massive liability offensively now. Still, I think he's a good defender, but Kuminga's better, in my humble opinion. The Klay Thompson thing is really tricky. And I won't even touch that one because a lot of people get bummed. But the point is, you got to make these changes while these assets still have value. The 49ers traded Joe Montana. They let go of Roger Craig. They let go of Ronnie Lott. They let go of John Taylor. All right. Like they moved on when the timing was right. And the Warriors still have a Stephen Curry who's in his prime. And they do have some damn good assets on this team. You can make a deal and get pieces back and still be a contender. Let's not forget they almost won this game. If they had competency at the top in terms of leadership, they do win this game. So it's not like they're like a light years, no pun intended, distant from the top tier teams. They beat the Celtics a couple weeks ago. Side note, by the way, all those people that were calling the Kristaps Porzingis edition for the Celtics overrated, overblown. Are you still saying that? Because I was one of the only voices saying, okay, what are the Warriors going to do in terms of size? Because I was envious of the Celtics for doing that. So, and the point is with Kevon Looney, I think that the time is up for him. I do. I hate saying that. I mean, look, this team cut ties with Andre Iguodala. If they can do that, why can't they do that with Kevon Looney? Why can't they do that with Andrew Wiggins? This is a business. These are adults who are making millions upon millions of dollars. All right. They will survive these decisions. But yeah, and Hyper Nick 12. Yeah. You writes Kuminga's mad because Pod's a rookie is playing instead of him. I don't know if the Podziemski part of it has anything to do with it. My understanding is those two actually like each other a lot. I think it's just ultimately sitting there for 18 minutes and looking at his head coach thinking, what have I ever done to you to make you for you to punish me like this? Kerr's decisions are not resulting in success. If they're not successful decisions, how do you justify them? This is a sub 500 team over the last 5 years. All right. Samuel Kweku Bentil writes, this loss by the Warriors is a turning point of the season. If things remain the same, no plan. Correct. They're out of it right now. The Grizzlies could rise above the Warriors. Very true. Fang Yu SFU writes, Siakam means Kuminga will never play. I don't agree with that. Siakam would be your quote unquote center. They could easily play alongside each other. They don't play the same position. Siakam is, by Warrior standards, a center. Okay, so that's not going to cause problems for Kuminga. All right. Oh, look at this. Someone actually finding the positive in the Warrior situation. You go by the handle IAOXTL, who writes, Kerr sits Kuminga to give Wiggins and Looney trade value before they're shipped for a major contributor. Bravo on the positivity. All right. Let's hope you're right. All right, folks. Yeah, Pinoy reformat writing, Siakam is not stopping Jokic. No one stops Jokic. You just got to slow him down a little bit. You just got to at least match the points. You just got to narrow that difference. Thank you, Ken Mamba. You're the best. All right, folks. We're done. This was brutal. Thanks for making me feel a little better. I hope the feeling is mutual in that regard. Yeah, Kate Jackson's in love with Lauri Markkanen. I don't blame you. He's a good player. I just think that the price is going to be too high. I just don't want to give people hope on that one. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, this was brutal. We're back at this tomorrow night. I'm going to try to get Larry Kruger on. Whoever, I forgot already, SF Giants fan, I think you inspired me to do that. I'll ask Kruger if he's available for tomorrow night. They got to beat the Pistons, right? 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 Oh, let's lose our minds together, folks. Have a great evening. We'll be back at this tomorrow. Bye-bye.